Hey everybody, how's it going? Rob Tomlinson, DishNet34 here, welcoming you to today's episode of This Week in Perfect Team, episode number 212. Hall of Fame Weekend 2023, that is right. The National Baseball Hall of Fame here in the United States over in Cooperstown, New York, is doing their induction ceremony this weekend. That's going to be a fun time, and we thought, we might as well celebrate that here on This Week in Perfect Team with some cards based around two of the inductees. Well, the two inductees from the playing world. They're going to be inducted this weekend, and that is Fred McGriff and Scott Rowland. This gonna be a fun day. I have a good feeling about it. So we got a lot of cards for you all today. We got how many in total do we have? We have 75 cards in total that will be released today, which includes 2 mission rewards. So that's going to be fun. We're only going to take a look at a small segment of those players tonight or today or whenever you're watching this. But we got plenty to go through here today. And you know what? I'm excited for this set because we got plenty of great players here. And you know what's also pretty darn great? Stathead Baseball, powered by Baseball Reference. Oh man, it's one of my favorite baseball services that is out there right now, and you can be a part of it as well. You can use code 23 OOTP25 at checkout over at Stathead for $25 off an annual baseball or all sport subscription. Ooh boy. Oh boy. That's a darn good deal right there. This offer does expire on December 31st, 2023. It's already been extended to December 31st, which honestly gives you a lot more time to take advantage of this absolutely incredible detail. I know I use it a lot when I'm creating the slides, looking up stats, looking up some facts and figures for all of the players, really. And, it's a fun service to use. Just kind of poke around a little bit sometimes and just kind of take a look and just be amazed at what this service can do. And, Stathead, it's not just for baseball. With an all sports subscription, you can get football, you can get basketball, you can get hockey in here as well. It's fantastic. So get in on Stathead Baseball today, powered by Baseball Reference. Use code 23OOTP25 at checkout for $25 off an annual baseball or all sport subscription. Oh man, fun stuff right there. All right, one real quick news and note that that I couldn't quite get in time for the slide deck today, but I will say that there is a new public beta patch version that is out right now for those of you who are interested. Just released about a half hour ago as of the noon live stream. It's version 24.7.72, has a lot of bug fixes for the main game, few little things for Perfect Team as well. It also adds a global default allow pinch hit if tired setting, fix some sizing and spacing in the mission screen, added a right click to activate card to the manage card screen, and according to the change list, fixed some roster import export issues, mission right click buttons, other errors, and some miscellaneous bug fixes throughout the entire game. So fun stuff for this new beta patch. It'll officially release once the team feels it is ready to go. Fun stuff coming up. So, More information on that public beta patch can be found on the OOTP forums. All right, folks, so let's go ahead and get right to the content of the evening. Hall of Fame Weekend 2023. We have new packable cards based on the 2 Hall of Fame inductees in 2023, plus some mission rewards. 75 cards in total, which includes 2 mission rewards. And we kind of have a little bit of a theme for the majority of these packable cards here today. And what we're going to see first, we're going to show off about 12 cards before we show off, we're going to have cards of Roland and McGriff. All right. That's a given right there. But we decided, let's spice it up a little bit. And let's maybe take a look at maybe some of the teammates that these players have had over the years. Maybe some guys that were traded for them as well, potentially, that you might see in this set. So let's go ahead and get things started with some of those packable cards. So let's go ahead and get started with our first card, and we go to 2009. Kind of near-ish to the end of Scott Rowland's career. And this guy was on the Cincinnati Reds and I believe, the Seattle Mariners in the 2009 season. I believe just before Rowland was traded to Cincinnati. And on that Cincinnati team, we have a player that maybe wasn't quite as big in the United States playing baseball. Didn't really pan out too much, unfortunately. But when he went overseas, became a legend. And that, my friends, from the 2009 Cincinnati Reds, we have 44 overall Vladimir Ballantine. 44 overall left fielder, unsung hero, Vladimir Ballantine. 59 BABIP, 56 power, 49 avoid K, 59 contact, 66 gap, and 65 on the eye. Now, he's not great against lefties as an iron card, but against righties, pretty solid for an iron card. 62 BABIP, 59 power, 57 avoid K, 66 contact, 61 gap, and 66 on the eye. He can play left field and right field off rip. Center field, he can train up there if you so choose, but 53 range, 63 error, 72 arm. Meh. It's the Vladimir Ballantine defensive card. All right. It's not great defense. Probably more of a left fielder type than he is a right fielder type. Maybe the arm kind of maybe would like you to play in right, but I don't know. 24 speed, 27 stealing, 68 on the base running, 5 on the sac bunt, and 39 on the bunt for hit. Now, 2009 season for Vladimir Ballantine, if I can... there we go. Let's find that good old baseball reference page. Vladimir Ballantine, he played for the Netherlands in the World Baseball Classic. Had a big career over in Japan. But, in the bigs, this was probably his best season, 2009. Hit 234, 305, 385, 7 homers, 24 RBI, and an 83 OPS plus. It wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination, but this was his final season in MLB before he went over to Japan, and he actually hit the longest home run of the 2009 season on October 2nd. It was a 500-foot moonshot. 500-foot moonshot, which is crazy. Obviously, a lot of you know that his exploits in Japan. In 2013, hit 60 homers in Japan in 2013, a single season record over in that country. So there you go. Vladimir Valentine from the 2009 Cincinnati Reds, a teammate of Scott Rolen's, is in. Perfect team. 24. All right, next up, we got one more Iron card for you. We got one more Iron card to show off. There's obviously a lot more cards that are in this complete set. We're just going to show, like, you know, a subset of them here today. And we got another Iron card for you. Now, let's stay in 2009. All right? We talked about how, you know, Scott Rolen was on the Cincinnati Reds in that 2009 season. If y'all recall, he got to Cincinnati because of a trade that happened with the Toronto Blue Jays. And as part of that deal, our next card was involved in that deal. Ladies and gentlemen, 58 overall, third baseman from the 2009 Toronto Blue Jays. We have Edwin Encarnacion. Edwin Encarnacion, 50 BABIP, 69 power, 58 avoid K, 61 contact, 45 gap, and 66 on the eye. Good old E5 himself. A little bit better against lefties than he is against righties. 58 BABIP, 76 power, 52 avoid K, 68 contact, 45 eye, and 76 eye against southpaws. 12 speed, 17 stealing, 19 base running. The base on his card is that he can play third base. However, he can only train up at first base. Doesn't have any positional eligibility at first base off of the card here. 47 range, 41 error, 78 arm, 58 on the turn double play. Not exactly the greatest defender at third base. Then again, was Edwin Encarnacion really ever a good defender over at third base? I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here. But this is a baby Edwin Encarnacion relative to, you know, everything here. I mean, he was trying to just kind of find his footing in Cincinnati a little bit. I mean, he had 26 homers in 2008. He kind of tried a little too hard in 2009 to be hitting homers. Only hit 225, 320, 410 with 13 homers, 39 RBI, and a 91 OPS plus. Did run into some injury issues, I believe, during the season. Played only 43 games with Cincinnati, 42 with Toronto. But when he got to Toronto, you know, he steadily improved quite a bit. 2010, he hit 21 homers, a little bit of a step back in 2011 with 17, but in 2012, he became, you know, Edwin Encarnacion on the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, this guy started hitting homers once 2012 started happening. I mean, 42 in 2012 at the age of 29. 36 the next year, 34 the next, 39 the next, 42 between 2012 and 2016. This guy hit 193 dingers. That's pretty darn good right there. So there you go. Edwin Encarnacion from the 2009 Toronto Blue Jays. Part of that Scott Rolen deal that sent him over to Cincinnati. He is in. Perfect team. 24. All right, let's talk about some bronze cards here. And, you know, we haven't gotten to a whole lot of Fred McGriff's teammates yet. But this next card, you know, it comes from kind of his later career. He played for quite a while, Fred McGriff did. A lot more than I actually thought he did. I mean, this guy played between 1986 and 2004, so he had a lot of teammates in his career. But he was on the LA Dodgers in 2003, which, honestly, I can't believe he played in 2003 anyway. But this next card, you know, this next guy was kind of late into his career as well as an effective pitcher. And, you know, this guy, you know, an influential pitcher on those Dodgers teams between the 90s and the 2000s, you know, really opened the door for a lot of people from Japan to come in to MLB. And that, my friends, from the 2003 Los Angeles Dodgers, it is 66 overall, right-handed starter Hideo Nomo. 79 stuff, 74 movement, 68 homer rating, 87 pitcher BABIP, and 57 control. Very interesting splits on this card. Only a couple of points of splits in a lot of the categories. Against righties, though, he has 80 stuff, 74 movement, 67 homer rating, 88 pitcher BABIP, and 65 control. Now you compare that to his stats against lefties. 77 stuff, 75 movement, 69 homer rating, 86 pitcher BABIP, 47 control. So kind of a big gap in terms of control between righties and lefties here. 84 stamina, 47 on the hold runners. He's a fly ball guy, 93 to 95 on the velocity. Has a fastball, slider, curveball, forkball, circle change. Fastball and forkball, really good. Could be a good two-pitch mix out of the bullpen if you so choose to have him in a bullpen. Maybe in a bronze tournament. Could be a decent bronze starter potentially if you kind of mitigate that control a little bit. But still a pretty solid bronze card. BABIP's pretty good here in the 80s. Pretty good for a bronze card. 2003 Hideo Nomo, this is probably his last real effective year as a pitcher in the big leagues. I mean, after this, the dude kind of fell off a cliff in 2004, 2005, and a little bit in 2008. Oh, God. He pitched for the Royals in 2008. Oh, my God. I just looked at that stat line. Good Lord, have mercy. But 2003, probably his last solid season of his career. 16-13 with a 3.09 ERA, 7.3 strikeouts per 9, 4 walks per 9. So the walks were definitely a little bit of an issue for Hideo Nomo in that 2003 season. But he did lead the 2003 Dodgers in wins that year. Now, obviously, this is his last season with 30-plus starts, 200 innings pitched. And he was the first player from Japan to play in MLB since Murakami back in 1968, which was back in the 1960s, I do believe. Pretty good stuff. But Hideo Nomo, a teammate of Fred McGriff on those 2003 LA Dodgers. Yep, Masanori Murakami, to be precise. I wanted to make sure I wasn't... I was trying to make sure I didn't confuse Masanori Murakami with Munetaka Murakami, because honestly, I would have just there would have been a thing that would have come out of my mouth, and I didn't want that to happen. So, but there you go. Hideo Nomo from the 2003 LA Dodgers is in. Perfect team, 24. All right, next up. Let's stay on this Fred McGriff train here a little bit. Maybe a little late career Fred McGriff here. And, this guy, I did not think about being a teammate of his, but he actually had a couple solid years in the big leagues, including this one with the 2002 Chicago Cubs. Now, this guy, you may know him from the 2004 Red Sox team that won the World Series, broke the curse. But this guy had a solid career in 2002. Well, a solid year in 2002 for the Chicago Cubs over at second base. Ladies and gentlemen, 68 overall, second baseman from the 02 Chicago Cubs. It is Mark Bellhorn. Mark Bellhorn, 69 BABIP, 77 power, 34 avoid K, 64 contact, 65 gap, and 90 on the eye. But man, oh man, this is some interesting splits on this Mark Bellhorn card. Now, he hit 27 homers during the 02 season. Look at those splits against lefties. 78 BABIP, 109 power. 109 power versus lefties. Holy cats. Man. 29 avoid K, 77 contact, 88 gap, 82 on the eye. But against righties, you have a little bit of a shakeup in terms of the splits here. 66 BABIP, 67 power, 35 avoid K, so you're getting a little more avoid K in that category. 58 contact, 57 gap, but 92 on the eye. So he's going to get on base a little bit more against righties, more than likely, you know, have a better plate discipline against righties than he will against lefties, even though that eye rating is still pretty good against lefties. First base, second base, third base, shortstop. He can play all four infield positions. He does have some stock defense over at first base and can still be trained up if you decide to use him in league play. But he's mainly a second baseman, probably a third baseman, giving his defensive shape here. 61 range, 57 error, 75 arm, and 64 on the turn double play. 52 speed, 46 stealing, 73 on base running. Now, Mark Bellhorn, listed in Baseball Reference. Oh, this thing's gonna take a while to load now, isn't he? Our good pal EVC in the chat is saying he is 6'1". He is 6'1", so not terrible. Not terrible. But 2002 for Mark Bellhorn, definitely one of the best years of his career. Hit 258, 374, 512 with 27 home runs, 56 RBI, and a 133 OPS plus. Now, Bellhorn, you know, he used to be with the Oakland Athletics before he was traded from there to the Chicago Cubs. And this was his first year with the Cubs after that trade. He had a career high in homers that year, and those 27 homers, most ever by a Cubs switch hitter. Most ever in a single season by a Cubs switch hitter. That's a neat accomplishment right there. And in 2002, he became the first Chicago Cub player to hit a home run from all four infield positions. That is some good accomplishments for Mark Bellhorn right here. And he could be pretty good on a bronze roster for those bronze tournament people out there. So there you go. Mark Bellhorn from the 2002 Chicago Cubs is it. Perfect team. 24. All right, let's get into some silver cards. We got a few silver cards for you here. And we're going to go back to the pitcher's mound here. Now, there were quite a few relievers over in the silver level that I felt were pretty darn interesting to include in this set. And, you know, we're going to go back. We're going to go back to the 2008 Toronto Blue Jays here, where Scott Rowland was, I'm not going to say an integral part of that 2008 Blue Jays team, but he's like the one guy outside of like Roy Halladay that I remember from those 2008 Blue Jays, just, you know, looking at MLB Power Pros and all that good stuff. This guy, though, was the winningest Toronto reliever on that staff in 2008. And that guy is 74 overall, left-handed reliever Jesse Carlson. Rookie sensation, Jesse Carlson. 75 stuff, 84 movement, 75 homer rating, 100 pitcher BABIP, and 60 on control. Now, against lefties, this guy pretty darn good. 83 stuff, 92 movement, 84 homer rating, 110 pitcher BABIP on this one, and 77 control. Against righties, it's a little bit worse in a lot of categories, but I think it's still pretty serviceable, even though he might get a little bit lit up by righties. 73 stuff, 81 movement, 72 homer rating, 96 pitcher BABIP, and 54 control. 13 stamina, 60 on the hold runners. He's a fly ball guy, 90 to 92 miles an hour, so he does give up homers quite a bit. He's got a fastball, he's got a slider, he's got a changeup in his pitching repertoire. Now, this was Jesse Carlson's, first big season in the big leagues. He was drafted by the Detroit Tigers back in, 2001, 2002, around that time frame. But he didn't really hit the big leagues until 2008. with the Toronto Blue Jays. Pitched in 69 games that year. Pretty nice total. 60 innings pitched, 2.25 ERA, 8.3 strikeouts per nine, 3.2 walks per nine. Pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. He was a teammate of Scott Rowland, like we said earlier. He is the winningest Toronto reliever. He had 7 wins during the 2008 season, making him the winningest Toronto reliever in a single season since Paul Quantrill in 2001. That's pretty neat accomplishment too. Pitched only 3 years for Toronto, kind of lost effectiveness as he went through his career, 2008, 2009, 2010, and he has not been in the big, kind of was out of baseball by like the early 2010s. So there you go. Jesse Carlson from the 2008 Toronto Blue Jays in the bullpen is in. Perfect team. 24. Alrighty, next up. Let's go back to the 90s. Let's go to Fred McGriff's peak. You know, back when he was with the Atlanta Braves. Some might say his Toronto years were his peak. Honestly, he had some solid Braves years. And he had a lot of really great teammates on those Atlanta Braves teams of the mid-90s. And this guy, I like the card on this one here. Just because, you know, this is a big power guy that you never really thought would be a power guy in that Braves lineup. So let's go to our next card. 78 overall left fielder from the 1995 Atlanta Braves, a teammate of Fred McGriff. He is Ryan Klesko. Ryan Klesko, 74 BABIP, 103 power, 55 avoid K, 92 contact, 87 gap power, and 77 on the eye. Look at the splits against righties here, guys. This is a splitty guy. 78 BABIP, 109 power, 60 avoid K, 98 contact, 91 gap, and 78 on the eye. Now, this guy, let's be honest with ourselves here. Let's have a heart-to-heart. Ryan Klesko cannot play defense. I know it's saddening for a lot of people, but this guy, just don't have him touch grass at all. I mean, look at these defensive ratings here and tell me you would put this guy in the field. Just don't. Just don't. 35 range, 43 error, 25 arm. He doesn't even have an arm on him. Oh my goodness. 30 rating in left field. And, you know, he can technically play first base if you definitely want to, you know, train him up. You're just going to get 9 range, 1 error, 9 arm, and 10 turn double play out of him. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. But you know what? The guy can hit. And he can hit righties pretty darn well. 43 speed, 46 stealing, 26 on the base running. 1995 season for Ryan Klesko, though, was very, very good at the plate. 310, 396, 608 on the slash line. 23 homers, 70 RBI, and a 158 OPS plus. And the 1995 season was not his worst defensive year. 1999, 2002, and 2004 were definitely a lot worse in terms of defensive WAR, but negative 1.7 defensive WAR in 1995, it's not great by any stretch of the imagination. But, you know, still a pretty solid year at the plate. 23 homers, 70 RBI, 158 OPS plus, second full season in MLB. So he's kind of still young at this point, around 24 years old. But his main claim to fame was in the 1995 World Series, hit a home run in 3 consecutive World Series games. That's pretty darn good. I believe it was, oh gosh, which games were they? Wasn't it games 2, 3, and 4? Yeah, no, it was games 3, 4, and 5 of the 1995 World Series. Game 3, solo shot off of Charles Nagy in the 7th inning. Game 4, off of Ken Hill. And Game 5, off of Jose Mesa, which was almost caught by his mother. Which, that's a neat little detail right there. So there you go. Ryan Klesko from the 1995 Atlanta Braves, who also hit 21 or more homers in 8 of his 13 seasons in MLB. He is in perfect team 24. Yep, he did play for the Padres too. Ryan Klesko did. Yep. All right. Next up, let's go back to those Toronto Blue Jays bullpens. But we're not going to do a Scott Rowland teammate this time. We're going to go to a reliever that was in the Toronto bullpen when Fred McGriff was on the team. And if there is anybody from a Toronto bullpen in the late 80s, early 90s that needs to be in this set, if you're talking about a Fred McGriff teammate set, if there's any bullpen guy that has to be in this set, it would have to be the guy they nicknamed the Terminator. Ladies and gentlemen, 78 overall, right-handed closer from the Toronto Blue Jays, it is Tom Henke. 103 stuff, 76 movement, 70 homer rating, 85 pitcher BABIP, and 76 control. Now, it's definitely a little bit better against righties here. 109 stuff, 72 movement, 65 homer rating, 90 pitcher BABIP, and 74 control. It's actually better in a few different categories, but not better in all categories. Against lefties, though, 96 stuff, 80 movement, 76 homer rating, 80 pitcher BABIP, and 78 control. So you got a little more control against lefties, a little more homer rating against lefties, a little more movement overall, but against righties, you're going to get a little more stuff and a little more pitcher BABIP here. 27 stamina, 63 on the hold runners, fastball, slider, forkball combo, fly ball guy, 93 to 95 on the velocity. 1987 season for Tom Henke. You know, I think this was kind of early in his career. Actually, no, he was a few seasons into his career at this point, but definitely one of the better years for Mr. Henke. 2.49 ERA in 72 games, pitched 94 innings, had 34 saves to lead the American League in saves. 12.3 strikeouts per 9 is the best strikeout rate of his career. This is actually his also lone All-Star season in 1987. Actually, no, I take that back. I just looked at his Baseball Reference again. He actually did make the All-Star team in 1995 with St. Louis. So my bad for that oversight there. But he also finished 13th in the AL MVP vote. He got some votes for MVP. He was that good. Led MLB in games finished as well with 62 of them. And he also had career highs in strikeouts, innings pitched, and games finished during the regular season. So pretty darn good right here. Tom Henke from the 1987 Toronto Blue Jays is in perfect team 24. Big stuff guy, pretty decent pitcher BABIP. Should be a fun play. All right, let's go to some gold cards. And we have a few gold cards for y'all today. And let's go back to the 2010s here. Kind of towards Scott Rowland's late career. Probably what? Wasn't 2012 his last year? Yep, 2012 was Scott Rolen's last year in the big leagues with Cincinnati. And, while Scott Rolen was kind of, fading out a little bit, this starting pitcher was kind of on the rise with the Cincinnati Reds at this point. And honestly, once 2014 came around, I was really hoping the Tigers would have traded for this guy. And for some reason, the Tigers, for whatever reason, decided to not go for this guy, but went for freaking Alfredo Simon. Alfredo Simon was never good as a Detroit Tiger. So it kind of validated my thoughts that the Tigers should have gone after this next guy from the 2012 Cincinnati Reds. We have 81 overall right-handed starter Matt Latos. Matt Latos, 90 stuff, 74 movement, 69 homer rating, 84 pitcher BABIP, and 73 control. Against righties, definitely a lot better. Against righties, 94 stuff, 77 movement, 72 homer rating, 87 pitcher BABIP, and 76 control. 82 stamina, 55 hold runners, fastball, slider, curveball, changeup, sinker combo. Right here. Now Matt Latos, oh my goodness, one of my favorite pitchers from like the early 2010s, from a National League team. I really enjoyed the stat lines that he was putting up, and he put up a really good stat line in 2012. 14-4, 3.48 ERA, 8 strikeouts per 9, 2.8 walks per 9. Second on the 2012 Reds in wins behind some guy named Johnny Cueto. He led the team in strikeouts per 9 and in strikeouts in general with 185 on the year. He finished second on the 2012 Reds in wins. Yeah, we already went over that. He also led the National League in games started. He had 33 starts during that 2012 year. Helped the Reds to the playoffs in 2012, where they got decimated in 5 games by the Giants in the division series. Matt Latos, one thing that a lot of people forget is that he was pretty good at one point. He actually had a 21-game streak without a loss from August of 2012 all the way to June of 2013. That's a pretty significant streak right there. So Matt Latos, very solid starter from those early 2010s Reds teams. He is in perfect team 24. And then he kind of, just kind of fell off the face of the earth after 2013. Yeah, it was not great. I mean, he had 16 starts in Miami in 2015. A lot of people forget that. He had like 5 starts for the Dodgers. He had 2 games for the Angels. Oh, I do not remember that at all. I do not remember that at all. So for those of you who play Immaculate Grid, if you're ever looking for a Dodger and an Angel, Matt Latos. That'll get you some point whatever percents on there. Alrighty, next up, let's go back to those 80s Blue Jays and a teammate of Fred McGriff in his rookie season. And let me tell you, this guy, while not the greatest defender in the world, certainly better than Ryan Klesko is at defense, I'll say that much, but this guy could absolutely mash, and he did so in 1987 and got some hardware for it. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1987 Toronto Blue Jays, 83 overall left fielder, George Bell. George Bell, 63 BABIP, 101 power, 91 avoid K, 95 contact, 72 gap power, and 40 But man, oh man, look at those splits against lefties. Whoo, buddy. 80 BABIP, 118 power, 86 avoid K, 111 contact, 67 gap, and 43 I. Woo! Woo! This guy can absolutely destroy lefties. Now, against righties, it's a little interesting here. You're actually going to get a little more avoid K against righties than you do against lefties with this guy. 57 BABIP, 95 power, 92 avoid K, 88 contact, 73 gap, and 43 I. Defensively, not great, but better than Ryan Klesko. 43 range, 42 error, and 87 87 arm, I should say. Yeah, George Bell was never really a take a walk kind of guy. Let's be honest with ourselves here. 19 speed, 57 stealing, 67 on the base running. Don't have this guy bunt either. 4 sack bunt, 8 on the bunt for hit. Just don't. Just don't. 1987 MVP year for George Bell. 308, 352, 605 slugging with 47 homers, 134 RBI, and a 146 OPS plus. He was the 1987 AL MVP, an All-Star, and a Silver Slugger as well. Led the American League in RBI and led MLB in total bases with 369. Not bad, not bad, not bad at all. So there you go. George Bell, a teammate of Fred McGriff in his rookie year. He is in. Perfect team. 24. All right. One more gold card to show off for y'all. And you know, we haven't got a whole lot of catchers so far. We haven't seen a catcher yet in this set. And I really want to give the catcher position a little bit of love here. Now, Scott Rowland played with some pretty good catchers in his day. All right. But this guy, probably the best hitter out of all of them. And we go to Scott Rowland's Phillies days for this next card. Ladies and gentlemen, 88 overall catcher peak card from the Philadelphia Phillies. It is Mike Lieberthal. Mike Lieberthal, 65 BABIP, 74 power, 82 avoid K, 82 contact, 78 gap, and 62 I. But man, oh man, look at those splits against lefties. 82 BABIP, 90 power, 88 avoid K, 105 contact, 85 gap, and 74 I. Now, this guy, definitely more of a platoon bat against lefties than he is against righties. I would not play him against righties at the plate. Just don't. Like, it's not good hitting against righties. 59 BABIP, 68 power, 80 avoid K, 74 contact, 76 gap, and 58 I against righties. Just don't. Just don't. Defensively, he's not bad. He's not bad. He's not great either. 75 catcher ability, 75 on the arm behind the plate. Does not have a whole lot of speed. 15 speed, 13 stealing, 14 base runners, 40 on the sack bunt, and 27 on the bunt for hit. Now, in Lieberthal's career from 1994 to 2007, probably one of the best hitting Phillies catchers of all time. 274, 337, 446 on the slash line, 150 career homers, 610 RBI. He was a two-time All-Star in 1999 and 2000, played more games than any Phillies catcher, and had the most homers of any Phillies catcher of all time. And against lefties, in his career, these are just bonkers stats. 310, 381, 510, 37 career homers, 151 RBI against lefties in 488 games. So there you go. Mike Lieberthal from the Philadelphia Phillies is in. Perfect team. 24. All right. We have a couple of diamonds to round out the teammates and related to packables here today before we get into our main event of the day. And folks, we go to the St. Louis Cardinals of 2003. And, you know, the Cardinals were not a bad team in a couple of those years going into the mid-2000s. And they had a pretty good shortstop, if I recall correctly here. Ladies and gentlemen, I see someone's asking about some ex-Tigers. Oh man, if you really want to talk about ex-Tigers, we go to the 2003 St. Louis Cardinals for 90 overall shortstop, Edgar Renteria. Tigers legend, Edgar Renteria. 85 BABIP, 48 power, 99 avoid K, 96 contact, 89 gap, and 64 I. But man, oh man, this guy can rake against lefties. 92 BABIP, 70 power, 109 avoid K, 114 contact, 97 gap, and 89 I. Whoo, buddy. This guy mashes lefties. Against righties, though, it's a little bit on the side. 83 BABIP, 40 power, 96 avoid K, 91 contact, 87 gap, and 56 on the eye. Defensively, you know, he's not the greatest shortstop in the world. 85 range, 82 error, 84 arm, 83 turn double play. So kind of, you know, below average defensively for what a lot of players would want from the shortstop position. But then again, Edgar Renteria, defense was not exactly his calling card. I mean, he was kind of decent at it, but not the greatest. Kind of reflects it here. 79 speed, 93 stealing, 89 on the base running, 71 sack bunt, 69 on the bunt for hit. 2003, he hit very well. 330 average, 394 on base, 480 slugging, 13 homers, 100 RBI on the year, and a 130 OPS plus. He was an all-star. He was a Gold Glover, actually, that year. Had a Silver Slugger, finished 15th in National League MVP. This year in 2003, he had a career high in RBIs, hits, and games played. And, you know, a little factoid I did not think about really until I looked it up. In 2003, Edgar Renteria became the first National League shortstop since Huey Brooks in 1985 to have 100 or more RBI on a single season. That's just incredible when you really think about it, because, you know, shortstop, you know, you don't hear about the shortstop position being a really great offensive position too often. Edgar Renteria, he was bucking that trend in the early 2000s. Pretty darn good. 100 RBI season, 13 homers. Really good player right here. Until he got to Detroit. I don't want to relive those Detroit days in 2008. He was supposed to be good, and then he wasn't. But either way, Edgar Renteria from the 2003 St. Louis Cardinals is in. Perfect team. 24. Alrighty. All right, one more teammate card that's going to be in packs for y'all today. And, you know, we go back to the bullpen. And we go to that late Fred McGriff career here. And the Dodgers bullpen, pretty solid in the early 2000s and in quite a few spots. But this guy, you wouldn't really think of this guy as maybe a shutdown reliever. But he was a very, very solid part of the 2003 Dodgers bullpen. And that, my friends, is 91 overall right-handed reliever Guillermo Mota. Guillermo Mota, 72 stuff, 98 movement, 92 homer rating, 86 pitcher BABIP, 76 control. Against righties, he's a lot better against righties. 76 stuff, 102 movement, 96 homer rating, 90 pitcher BABIP, and 85 control. 31 on the stamina, which is pretty high for relievers, and 57 on the hold runners. 78 fastball, 74 slider, 86 rating on the changeup. 2003 for Guillermo Mota, a very, very good year. Probably the best season of his career. 76 games, pitched 105 innings. Pretty darn good right there. A 1.97 ERA, 8.5 strikeouts per 9, 2.2 walks per 9, a career best in ERA, strikeouts, and in innings pitched. And he actually had two separate 15 or more inning streaks of scoreless innings pitched. That's pretty darn good. And that kind of helped, buoy that ERA a little bit. Kind of suppress that ERA a little bit. Those big scoreless innings pitched streaks. Now, those 105 innings pitched were the most pitched by a Dodger reliever that year since 1985. So there you go. Guillermo Mota from those 2003 LA Dodgers is it. Perfect team. 23. All right, so there's a look at some of those packable cards that you're going to have for his teammates. But now, let's talk about the inductees themselves. Now, we have some packable cards available for Scott Rowland and Fred McGriff. Now, we say cards here. And they both had really expansive careers that were both good, maybe bad, excellent, terrible. But you know what? We're going to give you cards at all different levels for Scott Rowland and Fred McGriff. How's that sound? This is not going to be Build a Hall of Fame, but we have packable cards at iron, bronze, silver, gold, and diamond for Scott Rowland and Fred McGriff. And we're going to have some mission rewards for their perfect cards. Oh boy. All right, so let's go to some iron packable cards for both of these players. And we start off with Fred McGriff's 2003 Dodgers season, a 46 overall. 59 BABIP, 71 power, 52 avoid K, 67 contact, 59 gap, and 64 I. A lot better against righties than he was against lefties. 67 BABIP, 72 power, 56 avoid K, 75 contact, 60 gap, and 78 I against righties. Pretty darn good. Now, McGriff, pretty much a first baseman only at this point in his career. I mean, he was always a first baseman by trade, but 38 range, 27 error, 35 arm, 40 on the turn double play, no speed, no bunting, no nothing. 2003 season, not much going on with Fred McGriff that year. He was trying to get to 500 homers. Started the season 22 homers shy of that mark. Didn't quite make it in 2003. He never really did quite make it to 500. Hit 249, 322, 428 with 13 homers, 40 RBI in 86 games. And this is the last season of his career where he had double-digit homers. So, Fred McGriff, pretty good against righties, not so great against lefties. I would not play this guy in iron tournaments against lefties. That's just me. But there you go, Fred McGriff from the 2003 Dodgers. And now for Scott Rowland, we pick his iron card from his 2008 Toronto Blue Jays season. 57 overall on the card here, but a very good third baseman defender. Plus he's got a pretty solid bat for an iron. 59 BABIP, 58 power, 74 avoid K, 68 contact, 87 gap, and 70 I. Definitely a little bit better against righties than he is against lefties. 59 BABIP, 61 power, 75 avoid K, 70 contact, 87 gap, and 67 I. Against lefties, 58 BABIP, 48 power, 71 avoid K, 63 contact, 89 gap, and 80 on the eye. Defensively, though, pretty darn good. 70 range, 79 error, 92 arm, and 58 on the turn double play. 19 speed, 68 stealing, 23 base running, 33 on the sack bunt, 18 on the bunt for hit. And Scott Rowland during the 2008 season had a couple of different injured list stints during the year. Definitely battled a lot of injuries. But this is his lone full season in Toronto after he was traded from St. Louis. 2008 season, 262, 349, 431, 11 homers, 50 RBI, and a 109 OPS plus. But his 3.4 wins above replacement during that year was still fourth on the 2008 Toronto Blue Jays. Which, I don't know if that's an indictment of the 2008 Toronto Blue Jays, but, it was still decent enough. So there's Scott Rowland from the 2008 Toronto Blue Jays. Let's stick with Scott Rowland here and go to his bronze card. His bronze card, which we pull from his 2007 season with the St. Louis Cardinals. 2007, he finished 265, 331, 398 with 8 homers and 58 RBI with an 89 OPS plus. Has 55 BABIP, 41 power, 81 avoid K, 62 contact, 79 gap power, and 58 I. Against righties, he's got 60 BABIP, 43 power, 84 avoid K, 68 contact, 83 gap, and 53 on the I. However, against lefties, he's got a lot more I. He's got a lot less BABIP, though. Defensively, though, solid. Absolutely solid. Probably one of the best defensive third basemen in the bronze ranks right now. 91 range, 87 error, 99 arm, and 82 on the turn double play. 42 speed, 36 stealing, and 71 base running as well. Now, Scott Rowland, this was his final year in St. Louis after signing, I believe, an 8-year extension or a 7-year extension or something like that in the 2002 offseason. However, 2007 was kind of the 6th lowest WAR season of his career. Had another injured list stint for a shoulder surgery in August of that year. I believe missed the rest of that season. Scott Rowland, 65 overall from the 07 St. Louis Cardinals. Not the greatest hitter, but a very solid defender over at third base in bronze. So there you go. Scott Rowland, 65 overall. All right, next up, let's go back to Fred McGriff, and we go to his 2002 Chicago Cubs season. 62 BABIP, 85 power, 69 avoid K, 81 contact, 56 gap, and 73 I on the 67 overall card. But man, oh man, the power against righties here, very good. 64 BABIP, 98 power, 76 avoid K, 90 contact, 57 gap, and 75 I. So definitely better to play him against righties than to play him against lefties. Defensively, still not great. 36 range, 39 error, 36 arm, 34 in the double play. Don't have him run, don't have him bunt. But 2002, probably, Fred McGriff's last really great season. 273, 353, 505 on the slash line, 30 homers, 103 RBI. His lone full season with Chicago after he was traded from the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in 2001. And it was his final season with 30 home runs. And, I wanted to kind of contextualize the splits here. And let me tell you, these splits are fascinating here. 945 OPS during the 2002 season against righties versus a 620 OPS against lefties during that year. Gigantic splits for this guy. So there you go. Fred McGriff, 67 overall from the 2002 Chicago Cubs. Now, let's go to silver. Now, because there is already a silver Fred McGriff in the game, it would not make any sense to have a second Fred McGriff silver card in the game. So, there is not a new silver Fred McGriff that is going to be in packs. However, we do have a 78 overall Scott Rowland from the 2010 Cincinnati Reds. 70 BABIP, 77 power, 75 avoid K, 85 contact, 90 gap, and 60 on the eye. Now, contrary to a lot of his splits, he's got a little bit more skill against lefties this time in quite a few categories. He's got 63 BABIP, 69 power, 85 avoid K, 80 contact, 89 gap, and 89 on the eye. Definitely a lot better stat listing against lefties than we have seen. Against righties, he's got 72 BABIP, 80 power, 72 avoid K, 87 contact, 90 gap, and 51 eye. Defensively, not bad over at third base. Scott Rowland was always a really good defender over at third base. 77 range, 85 error, 92 arm, and 75 on the turn double play. Scott Rowland in 2010 hit 285, 358, 497 on the slash line, 20 homers, and 83 RBI. Kind of a career renaissance season for Scott Rowland after those down years in 07, 08, and 09. Really got back into form this year, maybe aided a little bit by Great American Ballpark, but still. He was an all-star, Gold Glover, finished 14th in National League MVP, final double-digit homer season of his career, and during the 2010 season, he actually hit his 300th career home run, hitting it on June 28th, 2010, against the Philadelphia Phillies. So there you go, Scott Rowland from the 2010 Cincinnati Reds. All right, now, in that same vein, as the reasoning why there is not a new silver Fred McGriff, we will not have a new packable gold Scott Rowland because there is already a tournament edition gold Scott Rowland that is out there. So it wouldn't make any sense to have a new gold Scott Rowland. So we have a new gold Fred McGriff coming from his 1988 Toronto Blue Jays season. 80 BABIP, 101 power, 48 avoid K, 93 contact, 84 gap, and 95 I. And whoo boy, those splits against righties in the gold level. This is a solid first base bat against righties. Whoo, buddy. Crime dog indeed. He's going to commit some crimes against righties at the plate. My goodness. 80 BABIP, 112 power, 54 avoid K, 98 contact, 87 gap, and 104 I. These splits are just absolutely night and day between righties and lefties here. Defensively, he's a little bit better than some of the other cards that we have seen so far. 47 range, 54 error, 48 arm, and 43 on the turn double play. 1988 season. I don't know why it says 98. That's on me. 290, 391, 532 on the slash line with 31 homers, 110 RBI. If I can... Actually, no, I even got the wrong dang stats. Wow. Completely screwed up this slide. My bad, folks. All right, so 1988 season for Fred McGriff. Here's the actual stat line, by the way. 282, 376, 552, 34 homers, 82 RBI. He did not win a Gold Glove, did not finish 20th in NL MVP, but he did finish 17th in American League MVP during this season. War-wise, this was actually one of the better seasons of his career. Second best season of his career with Toronto. 6.2 wins above replacement, 5.1 offensive WAR, 0.3 defensive WAR, which was actually his best season defensively. So a pretty good season for Fred McGriff. Very, very, very solid. So there you go. Fred McGriff from the 1988 Toronto Blue Jays in perfect team 24. But you know what's better than a gold Fred McGriff? A diamond Fred McGriff from the 1994 Atlanta Braves. 79 BABIP, 108 power, 64 avoid K, 101 contact, 79 gap, and 73 I. Now the splits are a little bit lesser this time. Between righties and lefties. Against righties, he's got 82 BABIP, 112 power, 62 avoid K, 103 contact, 84 gap, and 76 I. Against lefties, he's got 69 BABIP, 93 power, 71 avoid K, 90 contact, 64 gap, and 64 on the I. 35 speed, 69 stealing, 54 base running, kind of decent over at first base as well. 53 range, 49 error, 48 arm, and 42 turn double play defensively. Now, 1994, obviously shortened by the strike. 318, 389, 623 on the slash line. Or actually, it was the lockout. Strike? Lockout? It was one of those things. 34 homers, 94 RBI, and a 157 OPS plus. He was an All-Star, finished 8th in National League MVP, won the All-Star Game MVP award in that 1994 season, and finished runner-up to Ken Griffey Jr. in the Home Run Derby. Now, this season, tied for the third best defensive WAR of his career at a solid even 0. And that was a good year for Fred McGriff defensively. So not a bad hitting card right here. Fred McGriff from the 1994 Atlanta Braves. Alrighty, so now we got ourselves one more packable card to show off for you before we go to the big guns, the mission rewards for Scott Rowland and Fred McGriff. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1998 Philadelphia Phillies, it is 97 overall Scott Rowland. 75 BABIP, 84 power, 54 avoid K, 85 contact, 83 gap, and 90 on the I. You can make the case that he's actually better against lefties with this card than he is against righties. 62 BABIP, 97 power, 61 avoid K, 83 contact, 71 gap, and 109 I against lefties. And against righties, 80 BABIP, 80 power, 52 avoid K, 87 contact, 87 gap, and 83 I. 56 speed, 67 stealing, 78 base running, and some really good defense over at third base. 90 range, 80 error, 104 arm, and 75 turn double play. A solid defending card here in the diamond level with some pop and eye against lefties. Decent against righties. It's kind of a little questionable, but it's still not terrible. 1998 season for Scott Rowland, probably the biggest power output of his career. 290, 391, 532, 31 homers, 110 RBI on the year, a 139 OPS plus. Finished, got his first gold glove in 1998. Actually, no. My goodness. Okay, so he did get his first gold glove in 1998. Yeah, here's where I screwed up that McGriff slide earlier. So he got his first gold glove this year, 20th in NL MVP, second best wins above replacement season in his career at 6.7. Had a career high in walks that year with 93 of them, 141 strikeouts though, so you win some, you lose some. But he also had career highs in total bases with 320 of them and 174 hits. Pretty good stuff right there for Scott Rowland. 1998, Philadelphia, Philly. All right, folks. So with that being said, those are the packables for Fred McGriff and Scott Rowland. But let's talk about the mission rewards. I don't know what... Oh, man. I really screwed up with these slides, guys. My bad. But who you get for completing... Now, there's going to be missions for Fred McGriff and for Scott Rowland. And if you complete them, you'll be getting the 100 overall versions of those cards. So, ladies and gentlemen, the 100 overall mission reward for the Fred McGriff Hall of Fame mission is obviously Fred McGriff 100 overall from the 1993 San Diego Padres. Whoo boy. 82 BABIP, 113 power, 77 avoid K, 109 contact, 78 gap, and 111 on the eye. Definitely better against righties than he is against lefties, but oh boy, he is good against righties. 84 BABIP, 115 power, 81 avoid K, 112 contact, 81 gap, and 114 on the eye. Against lefties, he's not bad either. 78 BABIP, 104 power, 64 avoid K, 98 contact, 70 gap, and 101 on the eye. Defensively over at first base, pretty decent considering what else we've seen from Fred McGriff cards here today. 54 range, 50 error, 49 arm, and 44 on the turn double play. 34 speed, 58 stealing, and 44 on the base running. Now, this is a 1993 card for Fred McGriff, but I did choose to show his career statistics because it's a 100 overall card. But in his career from 86 to 2004, hit 284, 377, 509 with 493 homers and 1,550 RBI. His 1993 season was actually split between San Diego and Atlanta. He hit 275, 361, 497 with 18 homers for the Padres in 83 games. When he went to Atlanta, played in 68 games that year, 310, 392, 612 with 19 homers and 55 RBI in his time with the Braves. 37 homers total, 101 RBI. Solid, great season from Fred McGriff. He's a 5-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger, 1995 World Series champ with the Atlanta Braves, had 6 top 10 finishes in the MVP vote in his career, 2-time league home run champ in 92 and 89. And he was elected, obviously, to the Hall of Fame by the Contemporary Era Committee in 2022. So there you go. Fred McGriff, 100 overall from the San Diego Padres, 1993, is in. Perfect team, 24. Alrighty, next up, our final card, ladies and gentlemen, is a peak card for 100 overall, third baseman, Scott Rowland. Scott Rowland, 82 BABIP, 100 power, 74 avoid K, 104 contact, 96 gap, and 97 I against lefties. Oh, buddy. 92 BABIP, 103 power, 71 avoid K, 111 contact, 100 gap, and 114 on the eye. Against righties, 78 BABIP, 99 power, 75 avoid K, 101 contact, 94 gap, and 92 eye. Over at third base, oh, that defense. Ooh, that defense. My, oh my, that defense. 99 range, 99 error, 106 arm, and 92 on the turn double play. 53 speed, 77 stealing, and 65 base running. Whoo, buddy. Scott Rowland's career, a very solid one in his career. Hall of Fame worthy according to the Baseball Writers Association of America. 281, 364, 490 with 316 career homers, 1,287 RBI. He was a 7-time All-Star, 8-time Gold Glover, 2006 World Series champion with those doggone 2006 St. Louis Cardinals. 7-time All-Star, 8-time Gold Glover. There are only 3 other players to have more Gold Gloves over at third base. That's some pretty rare company right there. And of course, inducted into the Hall of Fame in the class of 2023. Solid defending card here. Pretty good against lefty pitchers. Still solid against righties as well. 100 overall, Scott Rowland. Mission reward for the Scott Rowland Hall of Fame mission. Now, with that being said, there are some other cards in today's set. I can't fit them all on one slide, but here are quite a few more of some other cards in today's set. Devin Mesoraco from the 2014 Reds. You got John Lieber from the 01 Cubs. Steve Avery from the 93 Braves. Greg McMichael from the 93 Braves as well. Joe Carter from the 91 Toronto Blue Jays. 01 Chicago Cub Kyle Farnsworth in here as well. Julio Lugo from the 05 Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Todd Zeile, peak card from St. Louis. You got Randy Wolf. You got Woody Williams. You got Chris Duncan. Mark Wohlers. Ron Gant in here as well. Pat Burrell from the 2000 Phillies. Bobby Smith from the 1998 Devil Rays, that first year of their existence. Kent Merker from the 94 Braves. Sean Marshall from the 2012 Reds. You got Adrian Beltre from the 03 Dodgers. You got Doug Glanville from the 99 Phillies. Placido Polanco from the 02 Cardinals. You got Dale Murray from the 1983 New York Yankees in here as well. You got Juan Encarnacion, not just Edwin in this set, but you got Juan as well from the 06 St. Louis Cardinals. You got Bud Smith from the 01 Cardinals as well. 46 overall, Joe Girardi from the 01 Cubs. There's also John McDonald from the 09 Blue Jays as well. That should be a decent little utility card there. And then 42 overall, Mark Lemke from the 93 Atlanta Braves. So there you go, folks. Some really great cards coming in this set. Whoo, buddy. Whoo, buddy. All right, so before we sign off for the evening, for the day, let's congratulate our weekly leaderboard champs. Week 15, PTCS 4-period, week number 2, Daily Iron was won by Mandy T and the Madison Moundsman with 148 points. Daily Bronze last week, Zargian 2 on a 2-week streak in the Daily Bronze with the Debrecen Giants with 122 points. Daily Silver, last week's leaderboard was won by Go Cubs Go 16 and the Webster Grove Supercells with 97 points. Daily Gold won by Extoforus and the Breslow Binturongs with 116 points. Daily Diamond, Jeff LTN back on the mountaintop in the Daily Diamond with the Value City Viffers, 171 points. Daily Open won by Red Eclipse and the Palatine Plutos with 113 points. Daily Wildcard, J.A. Sussman coming out on top last week with the Albany Senators in 186 points. Weekly tournaments last week won by KC86 and the Mississauga Leaf Tours with 129 points. Perfect Draft Daily, Scannon 755 on an absolute tear with the Norwood Diamonders last week with 135 points. And then finally in the Perfect Draft Weekly, We Are Marshall and the Marshall Mice on the back of their victory in the Perfect Team Friday Showdown, 67 points, winning the leaderboard for the Perfect Draft Weeklies. Alrighty, so there you go. Hall of Fame Weekend 2023 in the books with this set. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in here today. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Take care. Rob Tomlinson, DishNet34, signing out. Have a great day, everybody.